Welcome to the third part of the lecture on the capital accumulation. Here actually, in last part we were talking about our representative company, which was aiming to increase the production. But we have discussed why our company might choose instead of just doubling the production by using exactly the same technique, might look to a new technique, both because there are limits of the large V, the whole labor force in the economic force, but no limits on C, the non-labor inputs in the same economy. But also, our company is rather increase its market share by decreasing its costs. And there is another reason. That's actually when our company expands by getting profits. Other companies might, if it applies a new method, which basically decreases its production costs, our company might rather want this production method to not be able for its competitors. Well, how can it do that? It can do that in this way. It can make this method only suitable for the companies that produce 2,000 units of 2,000 cars. So if any company doesn't produce 2,000 cars, in that case, that company, that method should not be available for that company, maybe because fixed costs of that method might be too high. The same machine might be consumed in 20 years, and maybe it can only fully utilize if it produces 2,000 cars per day. If it's producing 500 cars per day, in that case it might be underutilized, and in that case it might not be able to cover its costs. So basically, in other words, it might actually use this barrier to basically, we have already talked about a barrier of wealth, which was preventing the workers to become capitalists. But basically, this capital barrier, let's say previously, was just there for the companies who are producing 500 cars. Let's say, for example, let me actually open. Okay, I have opened the program which is resembling Excel in my computer. Let's say previously there was a production method which required production of 500 cars per let's say a day, and it requires let's say 5 units of C and let's say 10 units of V for the production per car. This would mean basically the total amount of capital required in terms of labor hours, of course, is 15 per car, but in total 7,500. So this was the original capital barrier. But now, let's say our company has produced a new technique. This new technique requires more C, 10, and less V, 5. And let's say this technique can only be used for when the company produces 2,000 cars. And let's say also there is some improvement in the cost of production of cars, and let's say C has fallen to 8 and V has fallen to 4. So previously you needed 15 labor hours to produce the car, now you need only 12. So there is the costs are less. This gives our company an advantage, but only if you produce 2,000 cars you can use this technique, which basically means that now you will need 24,000 labor hours per day, which is, just for fun, let's see the ratio of these two numbers. 3.2, actually you can say 3.2 times more than the original amount of capital. This capital might not be, the other companies, some of them at least, might not be able to raise that amount of money to make that change. So in other words, actually, the companies who just stay as small producers remain as producers who are producing 500 cars. They won't be able to keep up with the slash producers. The slash producers will be able to decrease the cost below it. So what can they do? They can basically, if they want to keep up with, now they also need to increase their production scale to 2,000. To some extent, you might say, actually, in coffee houses, for example, large chains might decrease the prices to some extent with other coffees, or maybe they produce, they give larger coffee bottles, for example, compared with the small coffee shops where the size of the coffee is smaller. And many people just buy a coffee and sit in those small these coffee chains, and those coffee chains can survive, but a small coffee shop might not survive that. So we might ask whether in service sector, actually, this is also the case. I mean, the prices or at least the costs are falling for the large producers, or whether this process is not that much happening. But mainly, it might be very much possible for different reasons to have the large producers being advantages than the small producers. The reverse is usually not the case. Actually, in introduction to economic courses, it is usually seen that the large producers you might have a negative increasing slope for the large producers. Well, large producers might basically just copy the small producers. They might just produce same shop with everything else can be copied, and it is mostly, I mean, as long as you can find customers to sell, I mean, the main constraint is finding customers you can sell. As long as you can find customers to sell, there is no need to not increase your scale of production, basically. And if you know you can decrease the cost, well, that's a good moment to increase your scale of production to basically to produce the same product for a cheaper price and be able to sell for that cheaper price and get more customers get your customers to buy your product or service, basically. And that's one of the main points in marks the companies, and here is why the companies need to continuously expand also, because continuously technology is the companies who are large, they might want the technological improvements that are improving them. Small producers, they don't have that much power to dictate the technological changes, and basically under this kind of a process, and especially when a company has excessive profits and is able to expand, that company with those excessive profits might demand, even initially, if it is initially small, some advancement that only it can use, not the newcomers can use. Under this condition, the companies that are expanding are winning because they are selling the same product for a cheaper price. The small producers, they might want desperately to survive, to tell other to consumers, my product is specific, my product is special. Okay, there are these mass-produced products, but those are not same. The fast food foods are not same as the my restaurant food, although there are many small fast food producers like döner sellers in Turkey. That's basically fast food in every sense. But you might say, okay, it's not the same. It's not the same. My döner is different than the hamburgers or other type of fast food production. But in the economic system, the one thing is the large producers might also keep with the quality gap, and small producers might also not always easily produce qualitative products. And even without that, cost advantage might in the end dominate them. Even for the consumers, it might dominate them. Supposed quality differences that exist. So what does it mean? That means all companies need to expand. To keep up, you need to expand. You need to produce more. You need to produce larger quantities. And there comes this need in capitalism to continuously expand, to continuously produce from the same thing more and more and more and more. Well, technological advancements, all those beautiful things, the lamp, the TVs, which I don't have, by the way, in my house, the computers, all of these are byproducts of this big expansion process, continuous need to decrease the cost of production. But the main thing, which might also be beautiful in many sense, main driving force that is at the center of capitalism is this expansion of production. And it is also something good. Why? Well, in a world where many people are dying from hunger, in a world where there are not much medicine available, in a world where the food, not many people are able to have clothing or quality housing, well, that expansion might increase the number of quality housing, number of transportation goods, the transportation devices people might have, like cars. It might increase the amount of food. It creates the possibility to get sufficient amount of, let's say, commodities to lift everyone from the poverty. Does this happen in capitalist system? Certainly happens. But there is a but there. According to Marxian analysis, capitalist system also needs poverty. Not because non-economic reasons, not because resources are not there, because it is a force necessary to keep the share of the workers low and get higher amount of surplus value and profit from the workers. And that need is also, according to Marxian analysis, continuously increasing. We will see in the next subject why. So even while technically the system is preventing, is getting sufficient amount of commodities to prevent poverty, it creates poverty, it creates homelessness, it creates hungry people. It still need to create hungry people. It needs hungry people. It needs homeless people. It needs people who are almost homeless. It needs people who might not have access to healthcare system. That's analysis. And is this right? Is this an internal dynamic of capitalism? Or is this like the Keynesian analysis where basically a specific form of capitalism? This is a question you should ask yourself, but after seeing, of course, the details of Marxian analysis. Anyway, well, there is another trend of capitalist system, which is also related to this type of expansion. But we will see that in the next part. So see you in the next part.